Assalamu alaikum. I'm Matur, a student of mechanical engineering at the Technical and Vocational Training Institute in Ethiopia. I'm here to help the students who have challenges in understanding physics and mathematics concepts, and also shows the interesting world of science. In this topic 1, we are going to discuss the states of matter. Topic outline. These are the sort of things we are going to talk about in the states of matter. We are going to describe the composition of matter, the simple kinetic theory, evidence that matter is made up of small particles, the physical properties of solids, physical properties of liquid, and physical properties of gases, and their applications. So as we are going to discuss states of matter, we need to first understand what matter is. What is matter? We are saying in our environment now, there are a lot of things that occupies space. I want you to look at your mobile phone, the one that you are carrying now watching this video. It has a mass and it occupies space. Also, look at the chair you are sitting on. Look at the table around you there, the piece of glasses. All those around you are matter, examples of matter. So we say matter is anything and everything that we come across in this world. Anything that you come across, anything you are seeing in environment, we consider that one as matter. Even the air you are breathing is also an example of matter. The water and the rest. This is what physics study. Physics show us how the things in our environment are made up, and it explains those phenomena which we cannot understand. Matter can be a piece of rock, a grain of maize, a piece of paper, water, or air which we breathe. They are examples of matter. You should get it clear that matter is everything that we see around us. In science, matter is defined as anything that occupies space and has a mass. Matter is anything that occupies space and has a mass. This is a definition you should get clearly. Anything that you see in the environment around you that occupies space and it has a mass, consider that one to be a matter. We classify matter in 3 states. The first state of matter is solids. The second one is liquids. Another state is gases. These are states in which matter exists in our environment. It can be a solid, it can be a liquid, and it can be a gas. Exercise book, textbooks, chalks, blackboard, those ones are examples of solids. In a state of liquids, water exists there, tea, and the other liquids, oxygen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen gas, chlorine gas, those ones are examples of what? Of gases. Let's come to matter and its compositions. We say what made up matter. We understand matter is anything that occupies space and has a mass. So now what made up matter? What make up the things that we see around us? So here is an activity 1, and this activity you need to describe what matter is, and this will lead you to understand what matter is made up of, the composition of matter. If you break down a piece of chalk, you will understand that the chalk will reduce and get smaller until it reaches to a stage where it cannot be broken down. So this keep us thinking that means there is something that made the matter. Not only chalk, even the maize, when you grind maize, it reduce until it reach to a point in which it cannot be broken down again. You have to discuss this. You learn in primary school, you learn that matter is anything that has a weight and occupies a space. So in primary school, you learn about this, that matter is anything that has a weight and occupies a space, which is also a true definition. Anything around us is matter. But what is matter made up of? So we shall now get to if you break a piece of chalk or a paper, it keeps reducing to smallest particles. If you could be able to keep on breaking the pieces, you could arrive at smallest particles of matter that cannot be separated by physical means. At this point, the chalk do not break again, and piece of papers the same do not cut or break. The smallest particles of matter that cannot be broken down further by physical means is called atom. Atoms are smallest particles of matter that cannot be broken down further by physical means. An atom is a smallest particle that can take part in chemical reaction. An atom is a smallest particle of matter that can take part in chemical reaction. When different substances come together, what take part in chemical reaction is atom. It is atom of an element that react with another atom of the other element or of the same element for the reaction to occur. There are other smallest subatomic particles that are covered in these units. Matter can be made up of atoms or particles of the same kind or group of particles of different kind. So that means atom cannot only be made up of atoms of the same kind, but also a group of particles of different kind. So particles of different kind can form atom. Particles of different kind can also form a matter. Matter is made up of an element, mixture, or a compound. Matter is made up of these three: element, mixture, or compound. An element is defined as a substance which cannot be split into a simpler substance. What is this? A substance that cannot be split into a simpler substance is called an element. So that means any substance that cannot be broken down into a simpler substance easily is called an element. In other words, all atoms in a substance have the same identity. That substance is called an element. So when all the atoms of of a substance are made of the same identity, so this kind of substance are what we call element. We call this substance elements when they have the same, when the substance or the atoms in that substance have the same identity. That means they have similar properties. The properties of the atom in that substance are the same. For example, copper, graphite in pencil, which is carbon. So the atoms that made up copper are the same. They have the same properties. And that's why we consider copper being an element. The same to graphite in pencil, which is another form of carbon. Compound is a substance made up of two or more elements combined together in fixed proportions. Compound is a substance made up of two or more elements combined together in a fixed proportion. Compound being another form of matter, it is a combination of elements, two elements being brought together or more than two can form a compound. For example, water as a substance has two elements inside. It has oxygen and hydrogen. Water is made up of oxygen and hydrogen, and the table salt or common salt is comprised of what? Of sodium and chloride. These two substances, water and table salt, they are being formed by combination of two elements. Water is made up of oxygen and hydrogen, while table salt is made up of sodium and chlorine. See, two elements are combined together to give you this. For a compound, we have to know that two elements must be brought together to give you a compound. But just a single element cannot give you a compound. Another example of compound is chalk. A chalk that we are seeing today is not only is made of three elements. It is made up of calcium, oxygen, and carbon. That single chalk is made up of three. It has calcium inside, it has oxygen and carbon. It has calcium, oxygen, and carbon, which is generally called as calcium carbonate. That is the scientific name of it in chemistry. Lastly, we have a mixture. Mixture is a material made up of two or more substances that can easily be separated by physical means. So when you mix two substances together or two materials together and you can later separate them, these two that can be separate are mixtures. For example, when you mix salt with sand, the other one is iron and sulfur. When you mix two together, you use magnet to collect iron away from the sulfur. What made up iron is called atoms. This smallest thing, this round thing here, round balls, they are representing atoms. And the element is iron, the whole of this iron. All this black round ball in a square form. This one is what we call element all. What made an element is atom. So this one of sulfur, the same here. What made up sulfur is atom. This smallest yellow one here. They are sulfur, atoms of sulfur. And the whole the sulfur itself is an element. So the combination of two, iron and sulfur together, when these atoms here can easily be separated, look here the way they are arranged, they can easily be separated. So we refer it as a mixture. And here the atoms are in fixed proportion. This is referred to as a compound. Warning: atoms can be small in size but can be used to cause massive destruction through nuclear and atomic bombs. Say no to war as it causes a lot of destruction. Introduction to kinetic theory of matter. So as we look at kinetic theory of matter, kinetic is just talking about, it is meaning move. Kinetic mean move, and theory mean a set of laws that govern something. And we know matter is anything that occupies a space and has a mass. This one is an activity to differentiate between physical and chemical properties of matter. When a perfume is sprayed in one corner, it is smelled in the other corner because the particles of the perfume have moved from one point to another. This shows that matter is made up of particles constantly moving. If matter particles were not moving, then there could be nothing that could move about and mix with air. This one is air, it is not water. Mix with air, like perfume being sprayed at one corner of the room. So it can be smelled on the other corner of the room because the particles of perfume are moving in the what? In the air. They mix up with air, and that's why people can easily smell perfume being sprayed at one corner. Like you are spraying a perfume inside in your room, somebody is at the other corner, so that person will tell you, oh, what a nice perfume. How did that person know that? It's because the person have smell. And what take it to that far is the what? The movement of particles or perfumes that mix with air. The movement of these tiny particles is summed up in a model called kinetic theory of matter. So kinetic theory of matter explains why particles of matter can move. It is talk about the random movement of particles of matter. In kinetic theory of matter, there are some of the assumptions made. The first assumption made is that matter consists of small particles. All matter is made up of a large number of tiny particles, either individual atoms or molecules. That is the first assumption. It is assumed that what make up the large matter, either large or small, are the tiny particles. Are the tiny particles or molecules or atoms. The second assumption made is that large separation between the particles. So if matter is made up of small atoms or small particles, it is also assumed that between the particles there is a large space between them. There is a space between them. The second assumption describes the separation of the particles. The third assumption is that particles are in constant motion. Particles are in constant motion. The third assumption is that each particle in matter is in constant motion. You know that? That means the atoms or the particles of an element do not remain in one place. They move from one place to another. They constantly move. Kinetic theory of matter. The word kinetic is derived from the Greek word kineo, which means I move. Particles in substance are in constant motion. They possess kinetic energy. They possess kinetic energy. The particles of substance that are in motion possess kinetic energy. So what is kinetic energy? Kinetic energy is energy due to motion of the particles. It is energy due to motion of the particles. Therefore, kinetic theory of matter states that matter is made up of tiny particles that are continuously in random motion. So it means that the atoms that made up matter, they are not at fixed point. They move from one point to another randomly inside in matter. So, and this is what kinetic theory of matter talk about. It talk about the movement of smallest particles that made up matter, that they do not remain as fixed point. They move within the substance. It says that the material particles have greater kinetic energy and are moving faster at higher temperatures. What does this mean? It means that at higher temperatures, when the temperature of material increases, the kinetic energy also increases and the motion of the atoms or particles of that substance, the particles will move at faster rate inside in the material. When a fast moving particle collides with a slower moving particle, it transfers some of its energy to the latter, increasing the speed of that particle. What does this mean? It means that one particles move at a greater speed, then it will collide with another particle. It will transfer some of its energy to the other particles. The other particle increases the speed. If that particle collides with another particle that is moving faster, its speed will be increased even more again. You see? But if it then hit a slow moving particle, then its speed up the third particle while its speed decreases. The theory explains how particles are packed in solid. So this kinetic theory of matter explains how particles are packed in solids, liquids, or gases. The attractive forces between them. 2. The attractive forces between them does not only explain how particles are packed together, but also the attractive forces between them. Then the other things is the effect of temperature on them. The effect of temperature on them. The arrangement of particles and how they move determines the state of substance, whether in liquid, solid, or gaseous states. So, how particles are arranged? How particles are arranged in matter. The arrangement of particles in matter determines their state. It determines their state of matter. So, whether it is solid, liquid, or gas. Note one important fact explained by the kinetic theory is that the average molecular kinetic energy is proportional to the absolute temperature of the material. Such temperature is a measure of average internal kinetic energy of an object. So, a molecular kinetic energy is proportional to absolute temperature of a material. So that means the kinetic energy that is inside in a matter is directly proportional to absolute temperature of material. That is the temperature inside in the material and the temperature outside the material. You got that? Total temperatures on the material. Say a temperature is the measure of average internal kinetic energy of an object. Dear Akar Lawson, please like, share, and comment. Subscribe also and inform your friends about this channel. I thank you and God bless you. God bless South Sudan too. South Sudan education first. Sharing is caring.